Many times we perceive a greeting as merely a polite gesture, a social habit we repeat almost automatically. We say hello, shake hands, maybe offer a hug, and move on. But when we look a little closer, we realize this fleeting moment contains much more than it seems. Carl Jung, the renowned Swiss psychiatrist and founder of analytical psychology, once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." This is precisely what happens during a greeting. When there is attraction, it's not just an exchange of words, it's an emotional reaction, a subtle transformation that marks the beginning of something words cannot fully express. When a man feels attracted to a woman, that first contact, that greeting that may seem insignificant, becomes a window into his inner world. His body reacts before his mind has time to realize it. His gaze changes, his energy shifts, his gestures lose neutrality. Even if he tries to hide it, even if he says nothing, his greeting reveals his feelings more clearly than he realizes. As Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." In the greeting, the unconscious speaks without filters. There are no strategies, no memorized lines, only instinct, emotion, and presence. This is what makes this everyday gesture a privileged observation point for those who know how to pay attention. If he greets you differently, if there's something in how he approaches you, how he looks at you, how he touches you lightly, it's because his subconscious is revealing something his words haven't yet managed to address. Attraction doesn't always manifest as direct declarations. Sometimes it hides in how his voice changes slightly when he sees you, how he straightens up when you approach, or how his expression involuntarily softens in response to your presence. This video is an invitation to observe the invisible, to learn to read the signals that appear in the first seconds of an encounter before the body has time to lie. Because in those moments, what is felt becomes visible. If you know how to read it, you can uncover profound truths, even those he hasn't yet admitted to himself. We are going to explore how a man greets a woman when he really likes her. We will reveal those subtle but powerful details that often go unnoticed, but say everything. You will see that it's not just how he approaches, but also where his attention is directed. Does his gaze linger on your hair? Does he smile spontaneously upon seeing you? Or do his gestures tend toward minimal physical contact, as if he's trying to prolong the moment? This, in itself, is a silent admission. No matter how brief the greeting, if there's attraction, that moment becomes a small emotional story filled with meaning. We will also talk about you because if you feel something too, you can turn that greeting into an unforgettable emotional experience for him. You can leave a mark that is both gentle and strong, something that stays with him long after you say goodbye. It's not about manipulation, but about sincerely expressing yourself from that place where desire and tenderness meet. Jung said, "Nothing has a stronger psychological influence on their children than the unlived life of the parent." This can be extended to all relationships, gestures that were never expressed, feelings that were never shown. They also leave a mark. In this greeting, you have the chance to experience something from a place of truth. So stay with me, because you are going to see one of the most ordinary gestures in life from a completely new angle. After watching this video, you may realize that no greeting is just a greeting if you are aware of what is really happening in that moment. When two people meet, their bodies speak long before their mouths do, and when attraction comes into play, that silent language becomes even louder. A greeting, which seems like a simple routine, can become a kind of emotional ritual, where the unconscious takes the initiative and reveals what the consciousness is still trying to hide. It is this quiet dance between the visible and the invisible that transforms a simple greeting into such a powerful signal. Jung reminded us that the meeting of two people is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is a reaction, both are transformed. This greeting moment is often the initial spark where something changes. When a man is attracted to a woman, his greeting changes completely, even if he is not aware of it. His posture changes, his gaze becomes more intense, his smile warmer, his tone of voice softer. His entire body language begins to resonate at a different frequency. It's no longer just about observing a social custom. It's about holding on to that moment, capturing her attention, establishing a connection that is not as direct as an admission, but still transmits something significant. The greeting then becomes a small confession disguised as politeness, a silent, "I like you," that breaks through gestures. This change is not accidental. From the perspective of analytical psychology, repressed emotions find their way out through the body. According to Jung, the unconscious shapes not only our dreams, but also influences many of our everyday actions, even if we are not aware of it. So what seems like an innocent greeting can be filled with deeper meanings. A light touch on the arm, a slow embrace, a surprised expression when meeting you, these are not minor details. These are small cracks through which his feelings burst out, even if he does not dare to name them. In those first seconds before any conversation begins, the body has already told its own story. This is the most honest space in the interaction, untouched by reason, logic, or strategy. If there is desire, if there is genuine interest, it is immediately visible. And that's when the greeting becomes a kind of emotional diagnostic tool. You just have to learn to observe it from a more sensitive, intuitive place, one that is attuned to the emotional reality beneath the surface. It is important to understand that not all greetings are the same. There is a clear difference between a greeting driven by routine and a greeting driven by emotion. In the first case, the movements are mechanical, the eye contact brief, and the body keeps a safe distance. In the second, everything changes. There is an intention to shorten the distance, a need to maintain eye contact for longer, an unexpressed desire to extend the moment. This transformation is not something he consciously decides. It is an automatic emotional reaction that comes from deep within. If such a greeting happens repeatedly, if every time he sees you his body reacts in the same way with proximity, a smile and openness, then you have a strong sign of attraction. Jung said that unexpressed feelings never die. They are buried alive and later manifest in uglier forms. In this context, it can be said that unexpressed feelings will always look for a way to manifest, and often the greeting becomes that opening. Context also matters. When a man sees you in an unexpected setting outside of work, outside of routine, and his greeting changes or intensifies, this reveals even more. It's as if seeing you in a place where he hasn't prepared his reaction makes his body act with complete honesty. There is no time for masks. Spontaneity in such moments gives it away. If he smiles more than usual, gets closer, looks for an excuse to touch you, or comments on your appearance, it's very likely that he is feeling something that he cannot completely hide, or perhaps doesn't even want to completely hide, even if he is not ready to say it aloud. That is why watching how he greets you is not an exaggeration. It is actually a way to understand what his unconscious is trying to tell you. In a world where many people are afraid to express emotions directly, the body becomes the most reliable channel for truth. Once you learn to read these silent messages, you will realize that emotions always find a way to be expressed. So, the next time he greets you, pay attention, look at his eyes, his posture, his tone of voice. How long does it take him to let go of your hand or your hug? Because in that brief, ordinary gesture may lie the beginning of a story that has not yet been told. Perhaps just as Jung believed that the soul speaks through symbols, you will realize that the greeting is one of the purest and most powerful symbols we have to say, "You matter to me," without using words. Sign number 1. He looks closely at your hair. There is something deeply symbolic in the way a man looks at a woman's hair, especially in the first moments of a greeting. It may seem like a minor detail, a meaningless distraction, but it is actually one of the most powerful and least understood signs of emotional attraction. When a man notices your hair, he is not just observing a physical feature. He is inadvertently revealing the emotional prism through which he sees you, because no one focuses on the superficial unless there is something deeper that attracts their attention. Hair has historically symbolized identity, sensuality, and personal expression. Changing it is a silent statement of renewal, transformation, or sometimes an unconscious search for attention. So when a man notices it, and even more so when he comments on it, he is acknowledging much more than a simple aesthetic change. He is saying through his nonverbal language that he sees you, that he pays attention, that something about you has captured him in a special way. If his gaze lingers on you when he greets you, and especially if he compliments you, we can be almost certain that it is not accidental. Such behavior is not characteristic of all men. In fact, most are not inclined to notice subtle changes in appearance in people to whom they are not emotionally attached. A man's brain, like a woman's, constantly filters stimuli, and only what evokes an emotional response gets through. That's why if he notices a new color, a different hairstyle, or even a change in the texture of your hair, he is telling you through his attention that you occupy an important place in his perception. It's his way of focusing on what makes you unique, on what sets you apart from the rest. Jung said that attention is a form of love, and this observation fits this idea perfectly. Looking at someone attentively, noticing their details, being fully present with open senses is not something we do with just anyone. We only do it when part of us is emotionally involved, when something inside wants to establish a connection, and this is reflected in the greeting in an almost imperceptible but deeply meaningful way when it is important not only how he looks. If his expression changes when he sees you, if a smile accompanies this observation, if his gaze lingers longer than usual or slowly scans your features, this tells you that he is not just noticing the change, he appreciates it. He is looking for an excuse to connect, to extend the interaction, to express admiration without being too obvious. Complimenting your hair can be a subtle way to compliment you without appearing too pushy. When the compliment is accompanied by a genuine smile, a slight lean toward you, or even a small gesture, such as touching his hair while talking, you are witnessing a kind of synchronicity of body language that only occurs with genuine interest. It is his unconscious way of getting closer, reflecting you, building a small emotional bridge that connects him to you on a more intimate level. This gesture may seem insignificant, but it carries a much stronger emotional charge than it seems. Another indicator is how he reacts if you mention your new look. If he shows enthusiasm, if he engages in the conversation, even without knowing anything about styles or colors, if he responds with an approving look or even an awkward but charming comment, this also shows that he cares about how you perceive him. Because when there is attraction, we want to please and show interest in the changes of the other. At its core, it is a way to say, I'm here, I see you, and I want you to see me too. This attention tends to be repeated. He may mention it again in a few days or bring it up spontaneously in another situation. He may say he liked your previous style better, or that this new change highlights your eyes, no matter what opinion he expresses. What really matters is that he remembered that look. He thought about you after the greeting, and even if he doesn't say it out loud, that in itself speaks volumes. If you notice that he only displays this behavior with you and not with others, then you have an even clearer sign that there is some emotion lurking beneath the surface. Jung said that nothing has a stronger influence on the environment than the unlived life of a person. Maybe this person hasn't expressed their feelings in words, but through their greeting, their body has begun to experience them. Because looking at your hair is not just about aesthetics. It is a symbolic expression, a sign of emotional attention, a silent signal that at least for a moment he sees you through eyes that want to understand you, admire you, remember you, and perhaps stay a little closer. Sign number 2. He smiles and raises his eyebrows when he sees you. There are bodily reactions that are so instantaneous and genuine that they completely bypass conscious control. One of the clearest and most significant when it comes to attraction is a genuine smile accompanied by a slight raise of the eyebrows the moment someone sees you. In this brief gesture, often unnoticed, if you are not really paying attention, may lie one of the most sincere expressions of emotional desire. It is a signal that comes from within, and its spontaneity gives it a powerful psychological weight. When a man is attracted to a woman and sees her appear, his face reacts before his mind has time to realize it. That serene smile and the slight raise of the eyebrows lasts only a second. Our reactions of the limbic system, the most emotional part of the brain. There is no calculation, no deliberate intention. It just happens. As Jung said, emotions that are not expressed never die. They are buried alive and later manifest in uglier forms. In this case, they don't need to hide. They manifest in an involuntary gesture that reveals everything. This type of smile, what experts call the Duchenne's smile, is easy to recognize if you know what to look for. Unlike a polite or social smile that only affects the mouth, a genuine smile also activates the muscles around the eyes. It feels warmer, brighter, more real. When a man looks at you and smiles like that with a slight raise of the eyebrows, his entire face seems to light up. It is a signal of deep liking, positive surprise, genuine joy. The raising of the eyebrows in itself serves an ancient purpose. It is associated with attention, openness, and curiosity. It is a nonverbal way of saying, "You interest me, you surprise me, I am fascinated by you." When this happens during a greeting, especially immediately, it usually indicates a real emotion that has broken through his self-control. It is his body speaking for him without filters or masks. If this reaction occurs every time he sees you, it becomes even more revealing. It is not a coincidence, it is a pattern. His emotional system already associates your presence with a feeling of excitement, and that is why his body reacts the same way every time. This micro-gesture, lasting only a moment, may be one of the most honest signs that he is not indifferent to you. Jung explained that the unconscious expresses itself through symbols, that what is not said finds alternative ways to manifest. In this case, his face becomes that symbol, a way of speaking without speaking. What is most fascinating is that this type of smile is often accompanied by other signals, a slight lean forward, a gaze that lingers a little longer than usual. In general, an energy of openness. His entire body language is tuned to create an emotional moment that does not go unnoticed. And even if he doesn't say a word, you will feel it. You can feel that this greeting carries a different emotional weight, brighter, more alive. It is also important to pay attention to what happens after that greeting. If he lingers longer than necessary, if he tries to prolong the conversation, if he asks insignificant questions to stay near you, then that initial smile was not just politeness. It was the entrance to an interaction that he wants to continue, even if he doesn't talk about it directly, because often the body initiates what the heart is not yet ready to admit. If that smile is accompanied by awkwardness, nervousness, a gesture of discomfort or laughter for no reason, that also matters. It means that his feelings are so strong that they bother him, that the emotion is so evident that it interferes with his usual behavior. This emotional instability, far from being a problem, is a valuable sign. It tells us that he is not playing a role but is feeling. In some cases, this smile and raised eyebrows appear even when he did not expect to see you. And in those spontaneous moments when there is no preparation or expectation, his reaction becomes even more sincere. If his face lights up, if his body language changes instantly, if you notice that he becomes more open or even more vulnerable, you can be sure that your presence has a positive effect on him. And it is in that single moment that you can see an emotion that is not hiding. So pay attention. Sometimes the truth lies in the smallest details. A fleeting gesture that lasts only moments but has enormous significance. Because, as Jung also believed, the small thing you do can be more significant than the big thing you plan to do, and that small thing, a spontaneous smile with raised eyebrows, can be the beginning of something bigger. Perhaps without even realizing it, that gesture is already telling you about the emotional place you occupy in his life. Sign number 3. He seeks subtle but meaningful physical contact. There are gestures that do not need words because they speak directly from the body. In the world of attraction, physical contact is one of the oldest, most powerful, and most genuine forms of expression. When a man feels attracted to a woman, his body usually seeks closeness through small gestures, a gentle touch, longer hugs, a hand touching your hand in farewell. Although these movements may seem casual or innocent, they carry an emotional charge rarely expressed in words. Physical contact in many cases is the most direct way for the body to establish an emotional connection. It is not always about immediate physical attraction. Often it is a reflection of the need for connection, intimacy, shortening the emotional distance. Jung said, "Loneliness does not come from having no one around, but from being unable to communicate what is important to you." Such contact, therefore, is not simply skin-to-skin contact. It is a silent form of communication, an attempt to say, "I am here, I want to be near you." To be. When he greets you and uses that moment to touch you in a subtle but meaningful way, his body is acting with an emotional intention. Maybe he puts his hand on your shoulder when he speaks, or hugs you with greater warmth, longer, with greater care. Maybe his hand lingers gently on your back, or his fingers remain a second longer, touching yours. These gestures are not accidental. They are unconscious ways of prolonging the moment, creating a sensory imprint, making sure you remember him not only with your mind but with your body. This type of contact is often distinguishable from casual social contact by its delicacy and purity. A man who repeats these gestures with you, who seeks them subtly and consistently, shows that he feels something special. His body is trying to confirm a feeling, to receive a signal, to validate an emotion that he may not yet be ready to express openly. And if you pay attention, you will notice it clearly, because even if his words say nothing, his hands, his hugs, his gestures are already telling a story. It is important to observe how he does it and how he reacts afterward. If he seems more relaxed after that contact, if he smiles, if his energy becomes warmer, this indicates that he has found an emotionally safe space in you. Jung taught us that the unconscious expresses itself through symbols, and in this context, physical contact can be one of them, a symbol of desire, closeness, deep emotional interest. It does not always require rational explanation. It is enough to feel the intensity with which it occurs. You should also pay attention to the contrast. Does he only act this way with you? Are his physical gestures towards you different from how he interacts with others? If the answer is yes, this adds even more meaning, because it means that with you, he allows himself a different kind of connection. His body language changes, adapts, becomes more intimate, and that does not happen with everyone. It is a sign that a living emotion is trying to come out of hiding, quietly but undeniably. In each of these signs, a look at your hair, a genuine smile with raised eyebrows, and subtle physical touch, there is hidden something much deeper than simple everyday interaction. They are unconscious attempts of the heart to find a path to closeness. Jung taught us that what is not expressed will seek a way to be revealed, that the body speaks when the mind is silent, and that truth rarely comes through the loud, but rather through the subtle, the quiet, but persistent. That is why it is important to be able to observe, listen, and feel beyond words. Because it is in these small signs that the most genuine emotions often hide. He may never express himself clearly. He may never find the courage to say what he feels,